Like there
Yeah.
isn't a rule book, there isn't a rubric for healing the mother wound. But if you can just allow yourself to be without any attachment to outcome and just navigate as you go, all the experience and all the emotions, then we
Yeah.
will find our way through. We're forced to find our way through. But if we're not grounded in our being, it's
Yeah.
easy to get swallowed up in that storm. Hey, I'm Brooke Jean, therapist, recovering perfectionist, and struggling working mom on a mission to normalize normal. If you're an overwhelmed, high achieving, and secretly anxious mama, struggling to balance it all and on the brink of burnout, you are in the right place. Here is where we talk about hard things like balancing work and family life, mental health, and how to navigate life altering transitions. Nothing is too taboo here. In my conversations, I'll teach you how to let go of who you think you're supposed to be in order to create the life you've always wanted. Get ready to embrace your messy, shed the shoulds, and find freedom through a life unperfected. This is the Unperfected Pod. Hey, Mama, welcome back to the Unperfected Pod. I am so glad you're here. This week's episode was an absolutely juicy, unperfected interview. My friend, Kendra Williams, she's a motherhood coach who helps high achieving women redefine success in motherhood and beyond. She's a certified conscious parent coach, a master practitioner of NLP, and Mama Rising facilitator. Wife and mother to two, she is passionate about rewriting the modern motherhood experience so women can enjoy the F out of their own lives while raising the next generation. Kendra is a friend of mine, and she got on to the call to record the podcast and had just had a brunch with her mom, who she has had a lifetime of struggles with, who she had cut off for many years and had just come from a really profound healing and triggering conversation. And so everything that we had planned to discuss went out the table. And I met her where she was at, and she was brave and strong enough to be met where she was at. And so we start just talking about her childhood trauma. So I do want to give you a trigger warning for childhood sexual trauma. Um, and so we jump right into her story and what happened to her as a little girl and how her mom has shown up and what that has done to their relationship. And then how that all, like, how she basically spent her whole life dissociated from her body because of the trauma, and how she started her career in sales in Silicon Valley and was a hustler and had wild success because, like me, like so many of us listening to this podcast, a trauma response is perfectionism, is an overachieving. And she was able to kind of hide her trauma and run from her body through looking for the next thing. And so we just jump right in and talking about her story and what had happened with her mother. And then we talk about her journey into motherhood. And she is someone who really specializes in matrescence. So we talk about the portal that is matrescence and what that has been like for her, and what part of her identity she's been able to fully step into since becoming a mother. We talk about the mother wound. We talk about the importance of play. We talk about how profound the identity shift is. And we do all of this, even though we're talking about a really hard thing, through such an empowerment lens. You are going to love Kendra. Her energy is so magnetic. She is such a real person. She is so grounded and rooted in realness and who she really is. And it's just inspiring to see a woman who's leaning in and all in life and facing the hard things and navigating the messy, but allowing so much beauty, so much joy, so much fun and play and pleasure. Anyways, you got to follow her on Instagram because she is a riot, and I cannot wait for you to hear this conversation. Welcome back to the Unperfected Pod, where we normalize normal. And woo, do we have some real life stuff happening here today and find freedom through a life unperfected. You guys, I'm so excited to have this conversation with my friend, with my soul sister, Miss Kendra Williams. Thank you for making time for me and the podcast and our mama community today.
Oh my God, Brooke, I'm so happy to be here. And this is like fun time for me and work time because I just love being around you.
Yeah, you guys, we are kind of newer in our relationship, and yet it feels like we've known each other for like lifetimes. Why does my camera keep doing the thumbs up? Are you seeing that?
I
It
am. It's a new like
I
iPhone
know,
thing. I
but I'm
think
not
whenever
doing it. I'm not doing that. You guys, if you're
no.
watching on YouTube, it keeps doing the thumb. Oh my God, it's my spirit squad talking to me. They always fuck with me in technology. Always. Okay, we're being held in this conversation, my love. So you guys, Kendra and I are newer friends. We had a similar brand company and website company who introduced us, but then like we were both busy and so that got lost in our email, and then I, like, found her on social media and fell in love with her realness and her energy and the way that she was resonating with me around motherhood and her beautiful, unique way that she perceives it all. I was like, "Oh my god," and then I pieced together this person that I'm, like, really resonating with on social media is the same motherfucker as I was introduced to, and I just spit on myself because I got really excited there. And so, anyways, we met up and basically it's been like kismet ever since.
Love at first sight. And you didn't tell me till your unperfected mama meetup that you actually found me like organically on social first. So I'm like, we're really friends now. It was me. It was just me. It wasn't the connection.
Yes, no,
Yes.
it's so true,
It
right? The
is.
energy. And you were here in Colorado the whole time. What the hell?
I know. I know.
Anyways, my friends, so listen, when we first started this conversation, Kendra was vulnerable and honest enough to share with me that she's had a very interesting morning. And of course, that plays into where we are today. And I asked her if we could just go ahead and make it part of the conversation because it's so real and so like plays into the mom stuff so deeply. And she has said, yes, I'm willing to go there. And so we're going to start exactly where we are, which you, my love, are knee deep in the messy of life, your healing journey, your everything. So
Yeah.
tell us what you feel comfortable telling us about your morning and where you're at right now, and then we'll go from there.
Oh, yes. Oh, this is so loaded. Well, you have a trigger warning already on the
Trigger
podcast.
warning.
Okay.
Trigger
So
warning for childhood sexual trauma and trauma.
yes. So I have a very strained relationship with my mother. And I have my oldest is 7. So before I became a mom, I think I talked to her once every couple months. It was just like a checking in life update. And then part of the work that I do is your whole life change when you become a mother yourself. And things actually started getting really messy between me and my mom like 7 years ago. And I had gone no contact a couple times to protect myself while in my own healing journey. And I'm coming out of a period of no contact right now. And we met up for breakfast today. And part of my story is that I was sexually abused by my own father. I don't know when it started. It ended when I was 6 and it ended in first grade. And throughout my healing journey, my mom has said, agreed with me that my father was the monster and that she just doesn't understand why I don't give her grace for being a single mom of 3 and that she did the best she could, all the things that I don't know. She just wanted to make herself feel better. And in my mind, she kept sending me back to my dad. It was court ordered. But as a little girl, I'm like, you keep making me go and you don't she never talked to me about it. I talked to police officers. It was was not handled well. And this morning, my mom told me she's reading the book, The Body Keeps the Score, which I'm sure a bunch of your listeners have already read. And my mom said, Kendra, I understand now that the trauma isn't just the event, it's what happened after. And I'm understanding what I didn't do after what
Mm.
happened to you. And,
Whoa.
oh,
Whoa, dude. Whoa.
oh, yes. So this is what I believe motherhood gave to me is that I can't pretend to just feel one thing anymore. In this moment when my mom drops a beautiful bomb like this, like I'm taking ownership and I'm apologizing, a part of me is like, oh, such relief if it's like a hug. And then there's another part of me that's just ragey because you gaslit me for my whole life, but specifically over the last like 4 to 6 years of deep healing. she has doubled down that this was my fault and that I didn't handle it well and I should have all the things that I should have done to make it easier for her to parent me back then.
Mm,
And I'm like mad at her for that. I'm sad. I'm happy. I'm literally all over the place. And unperfect. I'm fine to be just here. There's a
mhm,
part of me that wants to be like normal bubbly Kendra and like talk about what I wanted to talk about here, but like this is it. This is what I came to talk about because we can't get away with, oh, that one thing happened and it was all good and it was all bad or it was all sad. But I don't know how we ever got away with believing that life could just be one emotion and that we want it to be just the positive ones.
mhm,
Um, so, I mean, this happened 2 hours ago. So I'm still really fresh in it.
mhm.
Um,
And just riding the
and
wave, right? Riding the wave of what is happening and what's in my body. You're like a huge and first of all, hold on, girl. Thank you for having the courage to share your story. And that is not okay what happened to you. It has affected you your whole fucking life. It
yeah,
isn't just the trauma, it's like your mom not handling that in a totally safe and supportive way is secondary trauma. It's its own trauma on top of the trauma, which perpetuates the
right.
trauma. And to be gaslit on top of that, right? This is very layered. And so, did your relationship, okay, when was your relationship always tumultuous with mom? Like back when she was sending you to be with dad, or like when did the shit hit the fan? What led you to go no contact? Let's do a little bit of back and
Yeah.
then work our way to here.
I would say, I mean, if I were to describe like the first 18 years of my life, it would just be icy. I have two siblings, two brothers. I have a twin brother and an older brother, and we all have no relationship with each other. I don't remember much. I just tried to hide in my room. When I left, when I flew the coop and became successful type A validation on the outside so you don't catch a glimpse of how unworthy I am and how disgusting and unlovable all of the things that all the stories I made up from not having at least one protective parent. I checked in with her and gave her my outside accomplishments. I would say like probably literally once a quarter like a business. Hey mom, got a new job, doing well. Hey mom, this is my boyfriend. And it was quick conversations, literal downloads. It literally wasn't until I became a mom. We lived in different states. I had her fly in. This is a whole different story, but my son, it wasn't colic, but he had colic for 9 months. He was screaming. He rarely slept. That was traumatic. But my mom came to help me and she was like, "What should I do? I don't remember any of you guys as babies." And I remember thinking, that's odd.
Mm,
I thought I flew you in to help me. And I know all moms don't have the answers, but there was no help. And she would do the coffee and she would clean, but she couldn't help me with the baby. And I'm like, it's really odd that she keeps telling me she can't remember my childhood. Mind you, I
mm,
had done years and years of therapy before, but because the abuse was so big T trauma, and I didn't fight with my mom, I, and after thousands and thousands of hours of therapy, did not know that I had trauma and a terrible actual relationship with my mom. I was like, some
mm,
people don't have relationships with their mom. They're not close. Like, I wish I had a close relationship, but it's fine. In motherhood, as my son was misdiagnosed, but he was misdiagnosed with autism at 20 months when my daughter was 4 weeks old and I hadn't slept. I was like, I'm I'm literally drowning. I haven't slept. How am I going to handle all this? I had her move in with me because I had been such a self-isolating person before, like super workaholic. I didn't have a ton of friends. I didn't have mom friends.
mm,
I had her move in with me. And then it got really like, whoa, there's something really going on or not going on with our relationship. I didn't have any language around my own development for matrescence and motherhood. I had no understanding of the mother wound or anything like that. It was when my oldest was 4 and my youngest was 3. I pretty much broke because I think my son hit the age that I was when I started getting abused. And I remember starting to hate my son. He
mm,
I know this sounds crazy at first, but it makes so much sense is he was so big, he was not potty trained, and I couldn't physically change his diaper at 3, and I physically couldn't hold him down. And I was thinking, "Man, this feels like physical abuse." And then I think that thought
Mhm.
cracked
Mhm.
me, cuz
Mhm.
and then I was like, "If I were my son, I would have never been abused." Like, he is stronger than me, and then I
Mhm.
all of this insidious, unconscious stuff came pouring
Body stuff
out.
too, right? Your body is triggered by his body, like, "Whoa, girl."
Yeah. So that is exactly when the relationship with my mom crumbled because I was having new awareness of everything. I was connecting unconscious patterns. Um, I mean, I was very successful because I didn't give a shit about anyone. I was a mean girl at
You were
work.
dissociated, let's be honest. You were totally
Totally.
out of your own body. You were just you and PS, that is a common trauma response that
Yeah.
no one talks about. It's what my whole brand is built on, which is like
That's why I
a
love you.
trauma response is perfectionism. A trauma response is overachieving because we are running from our bodies. We are
Yep.
running from our truth because we cannot stand what's in our bodies. And then we hide our trauma behind our achievements, and we both you came from corporate America, right?
Yeah. Silicon Valley. Well, startup.
Startup Silicon
Same,
Valley.
same, different flavor, same
Same
type of genre.
energy,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. So had you remembered your trauma before all of this?
Yes. That
But
was
you
my
were
whole
just still so dissociated that you were going through the motions of your life and even going through the motions in your relationship with your own mother. You remembered the trauma, but you had it like you were still or what do you think was happening? It feels like you were dissociated.
1000% fully. I
Okay.
was the walking dead from as far until I was like 2 years into motherhood.
Until
Um,
matrescence, basically.
until right, and here's the thing, matrescence started when I found out I was pregnant, but I didn't surrender until September of 2019. My son flipped my daughter in the mamaroo. So she was upside down and I had bolted a playpen into the wall because he was very like aggressive and I knew he was likely to hurt her. So he hurt her even though I had created the safe zone. And I'm like, that's it. That corner is my corner. And I put up Christmas, which doesn't
Oh my
sound
god.
weird now because we're post pandemic and everybody like celebrates Christmas in their houses for 6 months a year. But in 2019, that was like, I wasn't like psychosis, but I was like, I felt like truly psychotic. I'm like,
Yeah,
I need something for me. I
yeah.
can't sleep. I can't do anything. Um, but what
Mm,
I was going to say is the surrender to, wait, what was that message? Oh, my son. And the being the perfectionist,
mhm.
one of the hacks I had about being really successful in Silicon Valley was I was a massive quitter. And it sounds counterintuitive, but I didn't care if my boss liked me because I was in sales. So I'm like, suck it, man. I'm making you so much money. I'm making money, like whatever. And then it got past a year mark and they're like, Kendra, like, we know you're great, but you kind of got to follow the rules and hit the metrics that we want. And I'm like, ah. So when I broke that relationship, because that's kind of reminiscent of me and my parents, like I didn't respect them, I didn't feel safe, but I had to like be in their presence.
Mhm,
So I'm literally, that's what I understood in therapy, like in my head, like not trauma informed therapy, pre motherhood,
mhm.
was that I would stay and I would get a new job and get like $10,000, $20,000 base raises. Like I was making like ridiculous money and I was being rewarded for quote unquote quitting because I could spin it. I got a greater job. I got more money, got a better title. The only thing in my life I could not quit was my son. That's what broke me. I was going to try this. We had him in all the therapies. I was in therapy. We were doing everything. There's a way to do it. We're going to fix this. And suddenly when I said I can't make this look perfect when he was 3, I give up on this fucking perfect journey that I'm living.
Mm.
That was when I felt matrescence. That's when the relationship with my mom changed. That's when everything changed.
It
It
all
was the
came to a
perfect
head.
storm.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm like grateful that my son is larger than life because I'm like I needed something so extreme because my shell was
To wake you
so
up.
solid. I wasn't
Mm.
going to let any boyfriend, best friend, job through. Nothing. Yes, people are like, "Well, you could have given your son up. You could have quit." And I'm like, "No. No.
Yeah, no,
No. I wasn't
that
actually
wasn't an
psycho.
option.
I was just tragically dissociated and motherhood and the bond I wanted to have with my child because I had no bond to myself. I had
Mhm.
no connection that was never taught to me. I wanted to connect to him and I couldn't. Um, that was the curse blessing of matrescence for me. It's very extreme. Not everybody has the big T and the small T trauma, but I didn't know that my mom's iciness was really a problem because of my dad's stuff. And then I don't really label it so much. I'm labeling it right now, but it all is just in the body. And the more I get into my body, it's a forever in my process, a forever journey of getting deeper and deeper. And the
Mhm.
answers are always within me. I don't need to label them. I don't like labeling. I'm a Virgo with a this attachment style and a this and a this and a this and this. Like it's cool when you're starting out, but now I'm like, I just need to drop in.
I just am. I just
I am.
I just
Yeah.
I just am. Okay, so before we get into matrescence and just what that phenomenon is, what was going on with your son? Because you said a couple times
Mm.
misdiagnosed. It sounds like there was some behavior things going on. Bring us into that part of your journey because what I'm hearing is, oh, hello, I had an abusive father. I had an icy mother who gaslit me. So no modeling whatsoever of healthy attachment. And then I'm going to have a child with a journey that there is absolutely no parenting book for. Like, no, like, right? So, can you tell us a little bit about that journey and what's going on
Yeah. When you
or
say it
what
like
went
that,
on?
I mean, I look back now and I'm like, who let me have a child? It's too easy to have kids.
Yeah, but our children literally get us on the right I mean, Camden saved my life. I was just
Yeah.
drinking and drugging and I got pregnant and it completely changed the trajectory. And you start to face like our children make us face ourselves in ways that we literally wouldn't because of trauma, because we
Hmm.
couldn't, because it wasn't safe. So
Right.
your child helped
I know.
you
Yeah.
face yourself.
He's a guru.
Huh?
He's a guru. He is my guru.
Yeah.
Um, I believe in soul contracts. This is where I'm gonna sprinkle in my woo woo. I believe in soul contracts. I believe that on some level, my son and I, and me and my mom, and me and my dad, at one point, were the little stars in the sky. We're like, we're doing this life together. I believe my son chose me because I would rise to the occasion of his big uniqueness. And I believe I chose
Mm,
him because I didn't want to live that way forever.
mm,
But the un that sounds nice for a lot of people, but then you have to understand on some level, I do believe I chose my parents. And that's where I'm at in my healing is I needed to be brought down so low in this life so I could feel the high that I get to feel, not on this specific day after this specific conversation with my mother, but like it's all part of my experience. I really don't demonize what has happened to me. So I really do believe my son is I'm a conscious parent coach where that's part of the premise is at a soul level we are equals. But let's talk about him. He was in the beginning just colic, like really screamy colic. But other things were odd where he would bang his head, and the doctor was like, "Oh, he's just self-soothing," and then he would bite his fingers while teething till he bled. And I'm like, "Yo, there's like something going on here." And the doctors kept telling me babies cry. And my thing was, no one's called me sensitive my whole goddamn life. Something's wrong with this baby.
yeah.
And um he also this is actually really interesting. When he was 3, he would grab parts of his body. He would like grab his stomach at the playground and be like, "There's hot water on my belly." And we're like, "What's going
Mm.
on?" And then
Yeah.
he would be at I don't know where he was. He would grab his leg and say, "There's spiders in my legs." And we're like, "What the? Is this kid fucking hallucinating? Like, what's going on?"
Yeah, what is happening?
Brooke, he was feeling his feelings.
Oh my god,
And
what?
I've never felt a feeling in my life that I can recall. He's now diagnosed with sensory processing disorder and
Mhm.
severe generalized anxiety. I think his interoception, like he just feels everything inside of him so much from the
Yeah,
potty issues to his feelings. And
yeah.
we literally were labeling that there was something wrong with him.
Mm.
And I'm like,
When he was
"Oh,
doing the most human thing a human can do, which is to feel.
feel." I'm like,
Whoa.
isn't that the
Whoa.
perfect match? I mean, I think he was misdiagnosed with autism because I was so unavailable emotionally. And I was a
Mm,
stay-at-home mom by choice, thinking I'm going to crush it. And I couldn't soothe him. And so then
mhm.
I would shut down because that was my modeling is when it gets stressful, you shut down.
Yeah.
And so he was in some type of pain, I believe, at the time. And I couldn't soothe him. So there was nothing socially wrong with him, but I think he got a lot of social marks on his evaluation because I was traumatized, not from birth, not from him, from life. It
Right.
was the tragic perfect storm. Now he just looks like a sensory seeking, low sleep needs, wildly creative, funny danceaholic. Like this kid's he's literally my favorite person in the entire world.
Yeah.
But the first 3 years without the language of understanding what was going on with him and what was going on with me were the worst 3 years of my entire life consciously because
Yeah.
we couldn't figure out why he was in what seemed to be pain for so long. It's like,
Yeah, and how does a mother who can't feel anything in her body because of trauma and dissociation parent a child who feels everything in their body? How did that trigger you? Like, what and you paint a picture
oh
because I
man.
can't imagine, right?
The visual I have now is like me holding this baby trying to soothe him and I'm literally pouring hot lava out of my chest onto his. That's what I imagine he was feeling cuz
Mm.
I was let's be real. I was already highly anxious, but they just diagnosed me with depression. I never really uh related to that, but in motherhood I was like tell me what's wrong with me. Like diagnose me with postpartum depression like cuz I didn't know what else there could be.
Yeah.
And I was begging to make sense. And they literally said, you have a really tough baby. It makes sense that you're anxious. You just have anxiety. And pretty
Mm,
much like told me to wait for him to grow up. And I was like, this cannot be it.
mm-mm,
This cannot be it.
mm-mm.
And I thought about going back to work because I crush it in that arena. But I accidentally got pregnant 11 months postpartum. So I had two under two, which was not fun, not recommended.
Just had to add another layer to your
Uh,
situation.
and I just
But
want to add this in because you keep it really real. Like, we were not having sex. We had sex one
uh,
time,
why
and
does that happen?
I was like, I have a daughter now, and she's lovely. But I was like, that girl, she knew this was her only chance to come into this family, and she took it. But
She was
but
coming
no,
in. She was
but
coming
for
in through no
real,
matter what.
I really thought, okay, maybe I will go back to work and some people have to go back to work. So I know this is a privilege and a luxury, but I was like, no, I'm literally only going back to work because I want to leave him. That was the
Yeah.
only reason. I could say it was for the family money. I could say for to keep up my career and resume. It literally wasn't. It was because I didn't want to be around this thing, this
Yeah.
really cute, really, really cute thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, Kendra, this is it. You're going to dive in. You're going to dig in. You're going to figure out one, what is going on with your child. And yeah, I surrendered. You're going to figure out why this is so hard. And to me, taking the easy way out would have been going back to work. So I obviously never made it back to that world. Um, but so we have him in a performing arts school now, which I think is just amazing. I think
So
all
cool.
kids would benefit from music,
Yeah.
movement, arts all the time. He's in first grade. He's thriving. He's wild. He's wild. He's a wild man.
I love
Um,
it.
but I think we have very reasonable expectations of him. I think he has taught us to let go of a lot of things that people expect
Yeah.
to have
Yeah.
and see and experience in parenthood. And there was a whole grief process around that of, oh, this
Yes.
is not ever going to be what I pictured it would be.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God, we could go down that tangent, but you
I know.
said, and you've said it a couple times, I surrendered. Surrendered into
mm,
what? We both had to
Matress.
take a deep breath.
Yeah. Yeah.
Surrendered into what? What the hell were you
Yeah.
surrendering into?
Um, with the consciously matrescence, unconsciously life,
Ooh.
because I I needed to be in the present moment. That literally it's as profound and as simple as that. If I can be in the present moment with my son and I'm not worried about the girl in the playground or what my mom thinks or what the other people in the moms group thinks back in the time. Like, what would happen if I just sat here with him right now? And what would I do? Where is this elusive mother's intuition they fucking said would arrive when the baby came? Like, I need to drop in so I can find that. I know it exists within me. What I'm doing isn't working. Like, I got to say, as far as doers and achievers go, I literally had an Excel spreadsheet with all of the library story times when I went out for my year-long leave. And I remember viscerally saying, I'm going to do motherhood. I'm going to do this.
That's so
And
funny.
and I'm like, "Oh my
I'm
god,
gonna
you do."
crush this. Look at my goals. Look at my
I'm
spreadsheet. I'm gonna have quarterly check-ins. I'm even gonna bonus myself. I'm gonna create some best practices for this shit.
Yes, girl, I definitely thought I was gonna do that, okay? And here's the thing,
You know how many moms are resonating with that right
yes.
now?
Well,
Okay.
I was just gonna say all those data tracking apps. In the
Mhm.
end, I was like, "Look, babe, I've changed 10 diapers and I breastfed for 6 hours. He's on the boob." I'm like, "Look at
Mhm.
my metrics. Look at my metrics." And I'm like, "I need to drop the effing metrics." And the surrender is like the
Oh.
basis of my work is the being versus doing. Bitch, you need to be right here. Stop doing. Like literally I had to be like, "Stop it." Because I mean, this is another like one of the things I like to say is mother is a noun and a verb. And I looked at it as only a verb. And
Say
that
more
got
about
yeah, well, first of all, if the verb is something you do, and the unfortunate thing is motherhood or the mothering is never complete. It's not that it's thankless when they're blobby and cute and they're not saying thank you and no one's saying good job. It's that the laundry will never end. Dishes never end. The day starts, you cook the breakfast, and you're like, wow, I never actually did get to complete. And that was a harsh, sounds like obvious now, but a harsh reality for me coming from. I mean, I chose sales now, I think unconsciously because it was so black and white, cut and dry. These are the metrics, pass, fail. You don't need to like me, like I'm doing it. And then in motherhood, there's obviously no one way to take care of a baby. There's definitely not a lot of spaces back in 2017 to talk about neurodivergent babies. Um, and it was like, wow, I literally can't finish anything, complete anything, and crush anything here. So that was inherently making me feel like a failure. And I'm like, wait, I am a mom. It's just one of the things I say is we wear all these hats, mom, wife, friend, uh, everything. We are the women wearing the hat. And I was trying so hard to identify with my hat. And a good hat looks like this. And I want the brand name hat. And da, 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 da. The hat fell. All the hats fell when my son was 3. And I'm like, who the fuck am I? It
That's what you
was,
surrendered into is the journey of exploring that in the here and the now and in this very moment. Without
yeah.
my hats, without my roles, without my titles, without my bonuses, without my metrics, who in the actual heck am I? And that is the work I'm here to do in the
hmm
present moment.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
but
it,
of course you
and
wanted to resist that. Ew, what? We can't
ew.
want times and shit. We have to feel our feelings and be
Oh
and
God. I love the darkness now. I'm like, I am a dark feminine. I know I'm
queen.
wearing white
Horse,
right now, but like
baby.
I
Like,
love the underworld of
yes.
me, of life, of I there was a moment when my son came out and I remember thinking I want to feel happier. And I consciously thought, if I feel that, I've got to feel this other stuff. And I knew what the
Mhm.
stuff was. And I'm like, oh God. But I'm like, no, we're gonna figure out a way, like we've always done, to make this enjoyable and like be good at it and raise a good kid. Yeah, so I surrendered. I call it the portal. There's no
The
up or
portal.
down in there. There's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. You're just in the portal. And so I surrendered to, yeah, life in the portal of I don't get to control anything.
Mm.
And there's
Now
so much freedom in that.
yeah, but scary AF because you can't predict the outcomes, right? Now, is the portal matrescence or is matrescence part of it? Let's
Mhm.
break down matrescence for somebody
Sure.
who's, like, newer to this concept.
Sure.
So
So
important.
matrescence is the psychological, spiritual, biological, all of the ways. It's a developmental process of becoming a mother. So it's literally modeled after the term adolescence because it's usually kicked off by hormones. You don't have
Mhm.
to physically have your baby, but it's usually kicked off by the puberty. And then you go through years of everything changing, of one, your
Mm.
body changing, society's immediately starting to view you differently. Think of yourself like, I'm just a free agent woman crushing it at life. And now you're a mom?
Mhm.
I'll never forget the looks I got when I would tell people I'm a stay-at-home mom. It was like "Oh." I'm like, "What? I'm amazing." Like, "Oh, but you look at me like a mom now." And so now I'm receiving what their values are of that. Um, Obviously it shifts the relationship with your mother because you used to be the bottom little leaf hanging on the tree. Now you're in the middle of the tree. It very much humanizes your mother for good or for bad. Sometimes this really strengthens an already great relationship. Um, and it also heavily changes your relationship with your partner, your husband, whoever you're with, because you're going through matrescence and they're like, "What happened? What happened to my girl?" And they're like, "Wait, I
Like,
thought."
she's dead.
I mean, she kind of is, but that's we'll
She
talk about that later.
literally is.
That version of her is. So it is the entire internal process of you going to this next phase of your life. And there really should be a bunch of releasing of what it was like to be this like maiden, this free agent. And yes, we want to be moms and we wanted to move forward, but I imagine the caterpillar sometimes is like, man, it was simple being a cat. The butterfly used to think it was simple being a caterpillar. I didn't have to
Yeah.
fly. I didn't have to worry about the rain up here. I don't know, but it takes time, and it usually takes 1 to 3 years for the inner world of us women, whenever they feel it, to go through all of the changes and have everything settle out.
Mhm. Mm.
Yeah.
It's so amazing to have a name to the experience because for me, with both my children, it just felt like the floor came out from underneath me. I was not sleeping. I was totally like depressed and anxious and crying all the time. And I didn't know why. I wasn't connecting to the baby. I wasn't enjoying the experience. I was wondering what was wrong with me. I was shaming myself. I was like, God, everyone else seems to be loving this and doing it right. And what's wrong? Like to now understand, like that was a process of just so many alchemical changes would have allowed me to have a lot more space and grace and maybe even enlist some different support systems. And I know that now that you're on this side of things, you really empower women through the process of matrescence. So can you give us a more empowering stance of how to utilize that tool? Like what's possible in the
Yeah.
phenomenon that is matrescence for us?
Yeah. Well, I think the best analogy of matrescence is like a snow globe. They're fun, they're beautiful. You shake up the snow globe, there's gonna be pieces that come up you never knew were there, and they're,
Mhm.
phenomenal. You're like, "I had no idea I had this in me." That could be a new hobby, a new just self-awareness, new confidence about yourself, like, "Dude, my body creates life, like, whoa, like, I'm a goddess."
Yeah.
Um
That one took me a longer time to get to that. At first I was like, I'm a wrecked train. Okay. I am a wrecked train. I am
Okay,
a
well,
dead
it is
body.
a process, but other
Okay.
times, like for me, I was consciously and unconsciously stuffing those things down. And
Mhm.
where I sit now, like I didn't actually want to live my life disassociated. I know now I wasn't actually happy. I would never want to go back to old me. At the time, where's the successful me? She would have this all figured out. She would have handled it all. But now I'm like, you come back out of the portal and you're like, whoa, I just dropped all that dead weight. So I look at matrescence. There's any big event can uh any big event can create this identity shift. Matrescence is a repeatable, expected life transition that we all go through. So I think the best part about it is, girl, you make sense. There's nothing wrong with you if you're feeling different. And
Mhm.
if you go with this process, surrender to this process, it's gonna be more enjoyable. You're gonna feel so much more confident than you ever did before because 'cause you're gonna know so much more about yourself. Um, who is it? Jane Hardwick Collins. She says that these rites of passages for women, it's your birthrights are from your own birth, your first menstruation, the first time you have sex, when you give birth, and then when you die. These are your 5 blood rights, and they all stack on top of each other. So you can choose to do it the same way. Think of back to your period. Were you empowered? Welcome to womanhood. Oh my gosh, you have this ability to do this. You can work with your no one. You're just like, here's a tampon. Like, shh, don't let anybody know you
Yeah, I
have
was
a
like,
period.
what am I gonna do with that? Oh, I have to put that in there. I was terrified and
Right,
embarrassed.
right. Well, then just liken that to motherhood. It didn't really
Terrified.
happen. You're terrified, but it didn't really happen. If you're struggling, like, don't worry about it. Like, it's just something us women go
All about
through.
the
Like,
baby. It's so sterile in the hospitals. There's like
right.
no fucking emotional support, no community, no ritual, no spiritual, nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jane Hardwick Collins says that these rites of passage, you can go the path of rewounding, which we can look at back at your past and see where you were likely going to go, or we can choose a new direction. Like, this is a powerful opportunity for healing and empowerment, not just for you, but for your children as they grow up. And I always say it comes in an inopportune time. Like, we're literally hormonal and we're sleep deprived and we're likely isolated. And you're like, sweet, now you want me to do the personal development? Like, okay, shut up. Let me sleep. But I like to say, like, the first, because it takes center stage for the first like 1 to 3 years, it is beautiful if we were welcomed by a sisterhood community of women who have already gone through this rite of passage. So when the babies are blobby and cute, you are reevaluating your values, reevaluating your goals, reevaluating your dreams. Are these my dreams, or are those my mom's dreams? Or are those my dreams or my religion's dreams? You're doing
Mhm,
that. So when it comes time to parent, I call phase 2 parenting, that starts at the terrible twos, which are not terrible. It's just when the kids
mhm,
get triggering, hopefully you have been supported in the identity shift before then. So you know, these are my boundaries with you, you cute little
mhm,
bean.
mhm.
And then when the parenting collisions start happening with you and your partner because of the unconscious childhood wounding that is going to be playing out, you know now where the goal is. And you're not figuring out the goal of your parenting in the 2 to 5 year old range of parenthood where you're like, oh my God, this is not what I thought it would be. They're unruly little monsters.
I have no control,
Yeah. But then that's, yeah.
just
So
like their
it's,
father.
yeah. So, I mean, it is, I always say, I love to talk about matrescence and educate women. Like, these are the things that could happen, not to scare you, but when they do happen, you're going to be like, oh, I've heard of this. I'm not actually alone. And I say, get support for the being in motherhood. We all have lactation support, sleep scheduling support, parenting support. We get support to do the doing. Yes, do that. But make sure you're also getting support for the being, for you. I mean, this is
Yes.
like the biggest fill your own cup first, but people don't realize that there is such thing for supporting the actual woman behind the mother. And
Mm.
parenting gets so much easier when the inner world of the mother is supported. Not just does she have the finances to buy the food and can she take them to the activities and do they have the are they going to the school that they want? Like, that's helpful. The physical village would be helpful. But she
Yeah.
needs a village to support the inner world.
What does that look like? So if I'm bought in, I'm like, yes, I'm gonna support my being. What the
Mhm.
fuck does that mean? I know
Oh,
somebody out there is
yeah,
asking that
yeah, yeah.
question. Like,
Yeah,
that
no.
sounds amazing. I'm with you, Kendra, but like, what does that look like? Like, what does that mean? How do I do it? How do I
It
support my being?
yeah, I mean, get in community with women. Like, that's it. Like, that is your order, woman. Get
Yeah.
in community with women.
Speak the truth about your experiences. Feel your
Yes.
feelings, normalize your feelings.
Yeah, I think that's why my Instagram account blew up because I am super unperfect and I feel really good about it now. And I will
Mhm.
go online and be like, this just happened. This isn't where I vent to get support, but I can share these stories and women go, "Oh my god,
Mhm.
you're allowed to say
Mhm.
that? You're allowed being in a space where someone says the words that are coming out or that you don't let come out is the most empowering thing ever."
Yeah.
So, I mean, I didn't even go to the hospital I birthed at. There was a closer hospital where it was like breastfeeding support. You know, everyone's got their boobs out and we're like, they're not sleeping. We're all crying. This is so hard. Just being
Mhm.
able to have that support in the beginning. Then I joined women's circles. I obviously did therapy. I love coaching now. I'm a coach myself. Um,
Mhm.
but I think there's a difference between group, like community environments. I I like to start there because it feels safer. Because if you're like, I don't actually want to put myself out there, there's a paradigm shift happening within me, and I'm not sure I'm ready to admit that. You see someone else kind of tiptoe, and you're like, ah, and that's what makes this whole gig easier. I don't actually get to go put your child back to sleep in the middle of the night and be your village. I don't actually hold the boundary that you're doing with your kid 100 times a day. What I can do is eliminate the chatter and the shame that comes around when you think very freaking normal thoughts
Mm-hmm.
about yourself and your kids.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then one-on-one support, coaching or therapy is there when you know that you're like, I'm ready to dive in. I'm ready to surrender, as I would
Mm-hmm.
say, is when you go to the one-on-one.
And it sounds like it's also just like you keep saying identity. And I feel like that's
Mhm.
so much around like, who am I now? Like, who am I now? How am I feeling now? Like, even when you're just like on a walk with the baby and it's like, get out of like the planning and the next feeding, like, does that sun feel good on my face? Like, what do I
Mhm.
feel? Like, am I just, I don't know, checking in on you? Like, that's the thing we just don't do. We check in on everyone else.
Mhm.
We don't turn our attention inward. We don't look at how things make us feel. We don't notice the sensations in our bodies. We don't follow what lights us up. We don't ask the big, juicy questions like, who am I now?
Right. And
We're just
here's the
looking at like,
kicker.
we're just Googling, how can I get my baby to sleep or
Yeah.
how to make a gluten free meal? Do you know what I mean? Like, so
Well,
it
here's the
sounds to
kicker,
me
Brick.
like it's just turning your attention inward. That's the
Yeah.
being is inward, going inside your internal experience.
Yeah. The being can only be felt, like your feelings, but and same with the beingness of life. I can't see someone going out, oh, she's being so much more. But you're going to feel like, damn, Brooke feels so fucking good to be around. Even if it's like,
Mhm.
I just feel so safe. I just feel, I like being around that quiet. Well, we're not, both of you and I aren't quiet, but like, what I'm saying is like that quiet magnetism is someone who is anchored into their being.
Mm,
And,
mm,
and I was going to say the kicker, I thought I missed old me. I didn't know who I was. I was so identified with the hats that I was told to identify with that when the hats fell, I'm like, "Oh, there is no old me that I actually lived through. I made it
mm,
all up." Oh,
mhm,
yes, I was
mm.
extremely
It was all
disassociated, but we
survival based,
right. Well,
right? It was all
we all do that
defensive.
at some level. Yeah,
Yeah.
we all so sorry, I was
Yeah.
talking over you there. Um it is I always say I help moms blend the old me and new me. There because that's usually around 2 to 3 years into motherhood is when I find that women go, "Okay, I thought it would be settled by now. I thought my body maybe the weight's the same, but they're like, it doesn't feel I don't feel the same in my body." And my marriage, I thought it would be hard with the newborn, but like we're kind of in toddlerville and I around the 2 to 3 years, they're like, "Okay, I'm not going back." And that's usually when I start working with women. It's never acutely postpartum.
Mhm.
It's truly the identity. Go with the baby, do the baby things, be there. It's so physically demanding in those early years. But when you're
Yeah.
kind of popping back out and you're like, "I'm here. Wait, who's here?" That's where I help.
That's when they call you to help guide them home to themselves. But I just love I got such like a profound image of like you pop back up like I'm here and then you're immediately like, and I'm naked and afraid and I have no idea
Yeah.
who the fuck I am. I'm going back in. I'm going back in. And I'm gonna, by
Yeah.
the way, project all this like disconnection with self onto my partner or my work or my children or my whatever. And again, this is where I think there's like an opportunity instead of saying no to yourself, saying yes to the growth and the evolution and who you're
Yeah.
becoming. Because when we don't, we repress and then that bubbles through and affects our relationships and all the things, right? All the
Yeah.
things. So, okay, so is this how you got into the work that you're doing? And what exactly is the work that you're doing? And how do you guide women
Yeah.
in this way?
Yeah, I actually fell into this. I had always wanted to be a life coach actually since I was like 24, probably because I
Yeah.
right, but Silicon Valley bosses were like, "Why would you ever do that?" Anyways, I gained a lot of weight after my second. Like
Mhm.
once my second got off the booby, I was up to a bottle of wine a night and door dashing like a fourth meal of like full meal food.
Yep. Yep.
So I
That
was the
sounds
heavy
relatable.
yeah,
Sounds familiar.
girl. Yeah, girl. So I gained like 30 pounds in 6 months, and it's hard for me. to gain weight. So that was the big problem. I think it was the cortisol and the wine.
Yep.
Um, I started documenting my weight loss journey on Instagram, like the best millennial thing I could do. And people were suddenly like, "What are you doing?" They thought I was Beachbody. "What shakes are you doing?" And I was like, "Girlfriends, I'm literally just not drinking a lot. I'm drinking less and eating less and moving more. Like the only way to actually lose weight." And I became an accountability coach because people saw what was happening with me. And I realized, oh shit, I think I'm kind of like mothering these people. I'm walking them through food triggers and they're losing all of this weight. And I started to feel like a fraud because I had never previously struggled with my weight before motherhood. Not relatable. But what that led me to was, whoa, motherhood is activating all of this crap in everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm struggling with my son and those triggers were coming up, I reread Dr. Shafali's Conscious Parent book and
Mm-hmm.
immediately signed up to train under her to be a conscious parent coach. Um, and then in 2021, I transitioned to like a motherhood coach where I'm walking you through the identity shift. And sometimes the triggers are food related, sometimes it's your husband. I'll tell you, it is very rarely the kids. The kids just get the worst of us because we're told that we can be above them. But the real deep triggers that I'm usually working through are career. Like, what do I want to do in my career now? This isn't who I thought I was. What happened to my marriage and what happened to my body? Um, and
Mm-hmm.
so I have worked one on one with women for 4 years. And now I do believe in the power of group and community of women. Women kept saying, it feels so safe to be with you. You say things that I've never heard. And I'm like, it's not just me. Like, I wish I could just put all my clients together and have you just circle up and talk to each other. So I've been doing groups for a little over a year, and walking through, educating people through matrescence and what is conscious parenting and essentially how to mother yourself and being able to surrender safely to yourself
Mm-hmm.
and with what's going on inside of you. So then you can live the life you actually want, like a life you
Yes.
really, really, really want.
Yes. And okay, so I just love how on Instagram, and you guys have to follow her because she's hilarious and keeps it real. Like, you're so playful, you're so embodied in your authentic expression, you're funny, like, it's all about the fun, right?
Mhm.
What parts of your identity were you able to unlock because of matrescence, because of becoming a mother?
God, no one's ever asked me that question, Brooke. Ah, I love you. Honestly, the fucking fun. That's what I got out
Yes.
of motherhood
The
because
playfulness, I feel like.
yeah, like fun, passion, pleasure. I was never able to access any of that before. Like my fun was literally getting blacked out drunk for 2
Mhm.
decades.
Same.
Um, I Because you have to feel safe to truly have fun. And
Mm,
now all I do is laugh. I have fun with my kids, fun with my friends. I dance, I dance like 3 times a week. I laugh with my dance friends. Like life is fun.
mm,
It's still hard. I think people think that you go through this process and you're going to do all this inner work and like parenting's going to get easier per se. It
mhm,
gets more enjoyable. Like you get
mm,
to ride the real highs and lows and the highs are so damn good.
mhm,
Like my inner child here playing with my kids. My inner child gets to hang with my husband sometimes and we get to be like 12 again. Like it's so fun. Um
mhm,
yeah, you get to enjoy your life. And I think for the first time, we all have this saying like adulting is hard. You've heard the phrase adulting is hard.
mhm,
Um, because no, we never really actually grew up. So I have so much more like sturdy, grounded confidence in myself when
mm,
it comes to really hard life decisions or hard parenting decisions. Cause I'm like, no, I've actually got my own back. Like this is going to be hard and I'm not abandoning myself. Let's go forward.
mhm,
And it's like that's positive, even though that's in the middle of the mess.
mhm. Oh my gosh. No, it's so true. I feel like we've lost the fun. We've like, and you said something really important, which is we have to feel safe to have fun.
Mhm.
Ooh, right? And I just feel like people see you doing your life and they're like, God, she looks so free. She
Free
looks
the
so
mother.
free. Free the mother
Yes.
was, oh yeah, that was your coaching program, right? Free the mother. I
Yeah.
just like that's what people are really after. They're after ease in their body and
Mhm.
freedom in their soul. And
Mhm.
I feel like you just embody that because You've done the inner work. You're continuing to do the work. You've like surrendered into these alchemical transitions in life.
Mhm.
You've like rolled into your son's world instead of trying to fit that thing into some fucking box, which has like ignited a whole new level of silliness and performance and fun. And I see you like riding the waves
I'm
of
surfing.
motherhood that, yeah, like no one's saying the shit's going to be fucking easy or perfect. Like we started this conversation with a very real trauma that you are navigating with your fucking mother.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
there's still stuff that we go through, but when we can have more, when we're like tapped into our being, we know who the fuck we are, we allow ourselves to have the freedom and fun, it's so much easier to navigate the harder, messier things that are totally outside of our control. And so let's
Yeah.
bring it back. Let's tie it back to where we started just to bring this whole thing through, like the conversation with mom this morning and just the I don't even know the like the time of the relationship and like where it's been, like where do you put that into the process that you're in
Mm.
right now?
That is an interesting question. It's in the portal, which is
It's in
not
the
an
portal.
organ.
Everything's in the portal. We're back in the
It's
portal, baby. We're back
it's
in the
yeah.
portal.
It's because I can't organize it because there was huge steps forward. And I felt like I was healing and taking care of this like wound that I had, and she was like, "Nah, bitch, we're gonna keep working on this wound together." Which part of me is like, "Yes, let's heal it together." But I had said goodbye. So oh man, I don't know where to put it. It's in
Yeah.
the- it's
It's
in
in
the
the
portal.
portal.
And
It's in the portal.
I'm committed to being in the portal, and I have people that I can talk to immediately. I have my embodiment practices. I have things that I can do. I don't know where this is going to go. I have enough lived experience to know that this is going to be an amazing moment in my life. I know it's painful. It feels, blech. I
Mhm.
guess we'll just put on paper, but
Mhm.
I know this is going to be the time I embodied this more, or understood this more, or accepted more of me more, or accepted more of her more. Like, I'm an opportunist, honestly. This is the part I can't get rid of from like the old me. I was like, if there's a system, I'm going to freaking figure out a way to optimize that. I'm like,
Mhm.
motherhood, if you don't know about matrescence, you're going to crash. But good thing we get to pick up only the pieces we want, girlfriend. We are cleaning house. Like, this is a trigger. There is a treasure in here. I don't need it today, but the treasure is coming. That is
Yeah.
literally my experience and my way of life at this point.
Mhm. I think it's so amazing though that you even have the like spaciousness. So you said like you were done, right? You closed her
Mhm.
off and for good reason, like to let her back in, to say yes to the brunch, to be in even open to like forgiveness or repair. Like how do
Yeah.
you how when someone has hurt you so deeply and now you're a mother, so you
Mhm.
understand that on a very different level.
Mhm.
Because the protective, fierce mama bear in you was going to sit with and figure this thing out with your babies, right?
Right.
How did you find that source of strength to even face that door to let alone open that son of a bitch? Because whoa, that feels like really big to me.
I just think it's a testament to the inner work. I
Okay.
think the more I accept my humanness, and I'm not saying accept someone who's abused you. If I said her abuse was emotional, I call it soft neglect. I didn't know there was anything wrong for my whole
Mhm.
life. We just weren't close, right? Um, I didn't put any, anyways. I just know that she really did mean well, and I know she means well. I don't let her off the hook for everything. I express when she says something that hurts me, this is how I'm feeling. And I even told her today, like, the hardest thing for me to do when being around you is being aware of where I feel like I'm aware of my feelings and I need to suppress them, and where I feel like I need to abandon myself to be in a relationship. And I am towing that line. I'm not putting it on you. I'm not abandoning myself because of you. I'm working on not abandoning myself. And to my awareness, she's the only person I self-abandoned with at this point in my life. I did that with everyone before.
Mhm.
Um so again, call me an opportunist in a little bit. She didn't overtly hurt me, and I think she's like trying. She is trying, and it's painful. So we're
Uh-huh.
we're showing up in the mess, honestly. And I think we both accept the humanness. I think that was the gift for me in
Mm.
motherhood is, damn it, I'm a freaking human. And like life is messy. And I don't think it's about even forgiveness. I think I have my own inner mother within me. I have an amazing somatic coach myself. I've built deep sister soul friends. Like I do have a place to go after to feel really held and supported so I can process.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have that, no effing way would I be talking to her. Heck
Yeah.
no. You're out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're so grounded and rooted in your being. It all ties back to that, right? Like there
Yeah.
isn't a rule book, there isn't a rubric for healing the mother wound. But if you can just allow yourself to be without any attachment to outcome and just navigate as you go, all the experience and all the emotions, then we
Yeah.
will find our way through. We're forced to find our way through. But if we're not grounded in our being, it's
Yeah.
easy to get swallowed up in that storm.
Yeah. I think that's what this maybe the next time I come on your podcast, I think we were going to talk about the last time I went no contact with her.
Mhm.
It was untethering from the biggest weight. And I had to stay so present because the emotions were so much that I learned that as long as I stay present, my Kendra's inner mother, I've got my back right now. I cannot
Yes.
say I've got my back forever. I can't say I have my back tomorrow, but I was like, I literally can handle anything if I stay present.
Mhm.
I was like, and so that was the gift of me going no contact. And I didn't need to be, I think, no contact with her forever. But untethering from that primal wound, my father has passed away, so he's not on this earth. Untethering physically from that primal attachment figure and wound changed everything, my marriage. And it was like a new matrescence because I had that lived experience of Kendra, you're staying in the present moment. Your window of tolerance was so, my window of tolerance was so small. And I knew how not to go outside of it. And magic happened because I truly stayed present. And I'm like, damn, this is the juice. This is the juice.
Yeah, we have to bring you back on the show, babe, because Matrescence 2.0 and how you live according to your own rules is another one of my favorite things about you.
Yeah.
And the just how much permission you give all of us to like create the lives and relationships in alignment with our authentic expression, not like the way that the world has sold it to us, is just like
Yeah.
really fucking awesome. And we have so much in common. Like as we're
I
sitting here
know.
having this conversation, like the big job, the numbing out, like the fucking midlife awakening, the like motherhood totally kicks you into a like awakening, spiritual like all of it, right? Like
Yeah.
wow. But I'm just so proud of you, girl, for like, you're all in. Like, this is one of the things I just love and respect about you. You're all fucking in. You say yes to life. You're figuring it out. You're rooting in your authenticity as you're also like becoming. Like, it's just, I love being around women that are just like, yes, I'm doing fucking life. Okay. And it can be
Yeah.
messy. And I'm going to share that messy so you can understand that you're okay that you're messy. But like you live very present, very out loud, and you're all in. And that's why I
Yeah.
fucking love you. And thank you so much for having the courage to like just go ahead and jump into the damn full blown trigger that you were in and for taking your precious time to be here today. I know mama's got a lot out of this and let them know where they can connect with you.
Well, first, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
And this was fun. I needed it after
Little
my meeting. But
shifteroonie.
yeah, but you can find me on social media. My handle is Kendra Williams. I'm on Instagram and TikTok. And I also have a podcast called Free the Mother. It's all about freeing you from society's expectations and freeing that inner mother that lives within you. She's just hiding. She's there. We're not going to create something new, freeing that inner mother. So I got to have you on that podcast. And then I also want to mention the next round of my group program, the Rebirth, starts next month in February. If anyone is interested in that community aspect and really embodying the hello world, it's me in
Yeah.
motherhood.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you guys, I love it so much. And you're just doing such important work through your lived experience, which is how you know you're right on the right track. So
Yeah.
All right, my friends, listen, take care of yourselves and therefore each other. And I will see you all same time, same place next week. Bye for now. Thank you so much for listening to the Unperfected Pod. I hope this episode helped you feel a little less alone and a little more inspired to be you. If you like what we're doing here, I would so appreciate that you subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. If you do, share the episode on Instagram and tag me at Brooke Jean Unperfected to enter to win a 1-to-1 laser coaching session. Also, feel free to join me in my private Facebook community, Mommy's Mental Health Matters, where we continue the conversation. Thanks again for being here, and see you in next week's episode.